Hello and welcome to Your Daily Detroit. I'm Jer Stays, and this is your show for Thursday, May 29th, 2025. Let's hop into this conversation after I thank our members on Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit, because local media needs local support to thrive. So thank you for those of you who've supported us, and welcome for those who will support us in the future. Let's hop into today's conversation. Joining me at the table at the Grand Hotel at Mackinac Island is none other than Dave Coulter, the Oakland County Executive. Dave, I am so glad to finally have you on Daily Detroit. I don't know why this hasn't happened till now.
I don't either yet, but thank you for making it happen here. We had to go all the way to Mackinac to sit down and have a conversation.
And funny enough, we're going to see each other Saturday at Ferndale Pride.
That's right.
Which is such a great event. You know, Oakland County has done such a great job of positioning yourselves in a very welcoming manner, especially in these times. They're a lot more controversial than I think we thought they would be. Like, Oakland County's been a place that's opened the door for lots of different people to come in and be themselves.
You know, I've been very deliberate. I've been county executive for 6 years now, and I've been very deliberate about trying to put a welcome mat outside of Oakland County, because I think there were times in certain communities that people didn't feel welcome there. They didn't feel like that, you know, it was for them. And, you know, I'm a white male, and I think they thought it was for people that looked like me. But the reality is Oakland County is a very diverse county, and the diversity is part of our strength, and we need diversity. We need more residents, and our population is growing because of foreign-born residents and the immigrants that have called Oakland County home. So I think it's important for our county to put that welcome mat out and let people know that if you want to have a nice life and you want to work hard and raise a family or whatever you want to do legally, we welcome you in Oakland County.
And that's a thing that I will highlight to listeners and people, that you look at Oakland County and it's not what it was 20 years ago. It's so much better in so many ways, especially with like the diversity of cultures. And, you know, a lot of times the diversity question gets talked about in the context of the city of Detroit. Mm-hmm. But in Oakland County, you really have so many different groups that are coming together, so many groups that are moving in, and such a tapestry of things. Whether you go to Troy, you know, you have a different thing when you go to Troy than if you go to Oak Park, than if you go to Southfield, you go to Hazel Park. Like, there's so much in the county, and I don't think people realize that. And then I think that also powers the fact that you're such an economic powerhouse, being a quarter of the state's GDP, which is wild. Because as I said, like, and I have my biases. I'll put them out there. I'm a city of Detroit resident, born in the city, but I know we are one region. And it's better together. At least that's my opinion. I don't know if you agree.
I wholeheartedly agree. You know, as a region, we're in competition with other regions across the country and across the world, frankly. And one of the things I said when I took over is, look, I don't view Macomb County as my competitor. Detroit is my competitor. We're in this together as a region, and that's what we try to do. And yeah, you mentioned, you threw out Troy. That's a great example. When I was a kid, Troy was pretty white bread, conservative, however you want to describe it. You look at it now, it is more than a third foreign-born residents, and you got people from all kinds of different cultures. And you can't argue that it isn't still a successful, thriving community that's doing great. And I would argue that diversity and that talent and those cultures coming together have helped make it that. It's the secret sauce that makes communities like Troy, Farmington Hills, Novi, they're all experiencing the same thing, this mosaic of people that really help to make a community.
And you can see it in simple things like the food. Right? There's just so much great food. I mean, there was a time where you wouldn't think of that. And now it's like, oh, wow, I'm going to go out to this place, and you name it, and you'll find something really great and taste and flavors that you would never do, whether it's the Indian community or an Asian community or whatever.
That's right. No, that's right. We have, and of course I'm from Ferndale, so we have awesome restaurants there. But I think we have restaurants throughout the county that reflect our diversity. And also, I mean, I'm nothing against the chains, but we have a lot of unique restaurants that aren't part of chains, that are just family owned and that are just real destinations in themselves.
Well, and with that, you've also been able to really support education. One thing that I think the rest of the state can look at Oakland County and say is that, like, investing in education and focusing on those kind of things, doubling down on it, pays off huge economic dividends. And you've been seeing that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I first took over, I would talk to business owners who would say, Dave, we would grow, we would hire more people if people had the skills and the education that we need in our particular fields. And these are good paying jobs, but we gotta do better at that. And we put our heads together with our education leaders, with our partners in labor and other things, and said, what can we do? What can we do to help get our residents better educated so that they could get better paying jobs, and we can attract companies that can pay those good jobs. And so what we created was something called Oakland 80. And that's just a fun name for our goal, which is to try to get 80% of adults in Oakland County with some sort of post-secondary, post-high school degree or certification. We were at 61% when I took office, and now we're at 70%. And our goal is by 2030, we're going to get to 80%. It's critical. It's critical for people's families and to raise and support a family with an income that makes sense. And it's important to attract business.
And I'll note that far outpaces the state. I don't mean to give that just a victory lap for you, but you can't debate the results. And there's such a tapestry of types of development in Oakland County, too, that you've been able to support, which is impressive because you go from one end to the other and you can basically find anything you want. If you want the urbane, walkable city life, there's more than a few communities that'll give you that stuff. Like I interviewed the people who own Hanson's Hall, and they've been able to do so much with a walkable community in Oak Park. All these people coming there, they were even able to have a smaller parking lot because so many people in the neighborhood just bike and walk up.
Isn't the 9 Mile great now?
Yeah,
the grant,
so great.
The mayor of Oak Park, I give her so much credit. She came in with a vision to be, she didn't call it like this, but I was the mayor of Ferndale. And they wanted to be a little bit more Ferndale, a little bit more walkable friendly, a bit pedestrian friendly, a little attractive to younger families and younger people. And that's what she's been doing over there, and she's doing an awesome job.
And then you go up the Woodward corridor, you go a little bit far out. You've got, your more traditional suburban style, whatever you want to find, because you've got people forget. I mean, how many square miles is it? Like 900 or something?
Something like that. Yeah. 1.3 million people,
right?
Bigger than 9 states, which always blows me away. And what I like to say is, if you think of it as just a suburban sprawl and just one big suburb, you don't understand a place like Oakland County. There are 62 different cities, villages, and townships, and they're all, like you said, very unique. You could be urban, suburban, exurban, rural. You can find it there, and unique downtowns. I think it's a pretty cool place.
Now, this isn't a huge focus of this particular conference, but my listeners and my supporters on Patreon, I would be remiss if I didn't ask, you have been a much bigger supporter of things like mass transit than some others in the past. Why do you think that that's been important? I know that, there's kind of a transition point right now with a lot of stuff, but why do you think, why do you take that position? And you've been more vocal about that than others. And why do you think it's important to all this other economic story and everything else that you're talking about?
It's integral to our economic story. We are the only major metropolitan region in the country without some kind of mass transit system. It's ridiculous. And I've been an advocate of expanding that since I got into politics. And we've taken some incremental steps. We got rid of the opt-out system in Oakland County where some cities were in, some weren't. So the bus literally couldn't stop in Novi or Auburn Hills or Rochester Hills, for God's sakes, which is where jobs are.
Yeah.
So getting people to jobs and attracting younger people, because we need to do that. We're an aging county, and we need younger families and younger people there. And, young people today, they don't necessarily want a vehicle anymore. Mm-hmm. So they want transit. And, of course, for our seniors and for people with disabilities and others. And I think it's critical. And there's this myth that, the big three doesn't really want it and the corporations don't really want it. They've been on board. Everything we've tried to do in Oakland County, they've been supportive because their workers need to get to their sites as well.
So are you hoping to see more progress in the future?
I am. My next dream goal would be something along Woodward. I'd like to do a Woodward corridor transit thing from like downtown Detroit to Pontiac. I think that's doable. If we could get it to go to the airport, that'd be even better because I think a lot of people in Oakland County would go to downtown Detroit and the airport is there a couple of top destinations. So I think that's the next step I'd like to try to take, and we're working on that.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of change in Washington lately. How is some of that federal stuff, how is that going to rain down on what's happening on counties and what you're dealing with?
Well, since we're at an economic conference right now, economically, it is just disruptive as all get out, right? These business leaders here are like these tariffs and this policy in
The
Washington.
word I keep hearing is uncertainty. Like
It's uncertainty, and nobody wants uncertainty, but business especially, because they have to make capital investments several years in advance. So, in fact, I talked to a business, I can't mention it, but I talked to a business CEO this morning who said, we were getting ready to break ground on an R&D center, a research and development center, which is good paying jobs, would be great for Oakland County. And he said, we're pausing right now. We're just going to try to wait out and see what's going to happen with the tariffs and what's going to happen with the economy. And so we're going to put that on hold for now. And I think you're seeing a lot of business people saying, the fundamentals are good, but we're nervous and we're not going to make big investments while all this disruption is going on.
And that's got to be challenging for planning and things like that. But, time marches on, Another thing that I thought was notable about this, I didn't realize a county could do this, is you have a bunch of stuff around student and medical debt. And I was fascinated to see this. I read it when it first came out. I wanted to talk about it because there's so much conversation on the top level about that. What have you been able to do, and what are you working on doing in Oakland County about that? Because that's part of that whole thing, right? If you can forgive medical debt or find ways to deal with student debt, those high-paying jobs, those educated people, they're going to go to the place that can get that, right?
I think so. And you're going to get that debt off of their backs so that they can actually fully participate in our economy as well. So you're right. You mentioned a couple of things. The medical debt, where we're literally buying $200 million of medical debt in Oakland County for that Oakland County residents are shouldering. And these are debts that hold them back, that ruin their credit scores, that keep them up at night. I mean, that really inhibit their ability to fully participate in our economy. And so because of the American Rescue Plan dollars that we got, we were able to buy that debt 10 cents on the dollar. That's why we were able to get so much of it. And it's going to be a game changer for these folks. I'm starting to hear now the stories of people who get the letter in the mail and said, oh my God, my debt has been...
So how does this work?
So you can't apply for it because we know who owes the money. The health systems know who owes them the money. So we identify...
And I apologize because I'm on the outside.
Yeah, that's okay. No, so this is not a program that you could have applied for. You're literally going to get them. If you have medical debt and you qualify, you have a certain income, you're going to get a letter in the mail that says, because of Oakland County, your debt has been eliminated. No questions asked. And I'm always worried that they're going to think it's a joke or a scam or something. But we're starting to get the reactions now of, oh my God, what a game changer! It's just we purchased it for 10 cents on the dollar. We think there's 80,000 people in Oakland County that will ultimately get a letter like that. 80,000 people
just by being a resident.
Just by being a resident in Oakland County.
I can see my producer, who's a resident of Oakland County with some student debt, leaning into the table right now.
So that one is medical debt. Then we have a student debt one. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the kind of money. You need a federal budget to be able to eliminate student debt. But what we were able to do is this: we partnered with a national nonprofit organization who said, look, there is available funds out there for people to pay off their student loans, but they don't know how to apply. They don't know where it is. It's confusing. The system is complex as all get out. So for $75, you can pay this nonprofit to help you find student debt relief. And so what we said is, okay, we'll pay the $75 for people to use your service and eliminate that and try to eliminate or bring down their student loan debt. And it has been phenomenal. The response has been great. And the average Oakland County student has eliminated about $40,000 in debt through this program.
Let's talk a little bit about affordable housing. I know about programs like Lighthouse that are doing a lot of really good and interesting work. We've had Mr. Hertz on the show before.
Yeah, great guy.
What is, like, when people think about Oakland County, they don't think about necessarily affordable housing programs. How have you been able to wrap that into what you're doing?
Yeah, and this comes out of my experience of being the mayor of Ferndale, because by the time I left as mayor, the biggest issue I heard about was, oh my God, it's gotten so expensive here. The people who sort of made Ferndale cool can't afford to live here anymore, and that it's a huge issue. And it turns out it's an issue across the county and frankly across the country. And so one of the things that we did is we took $20 million and we started a housing trust fund, and we are incentivizing developers who are already building developments anyway to put a portion of them aside for affordable housing, stuff that people can actually afford. And we're not talking like the public Section 8 kind of housing. We're talking just about stuff that's a little below market rate that an average person like a
Kind of
teacher or a
workforce?
nurse workforce could afford, and put a certain percentage of those aside, and we will give you the financing that you need to make that affordable for them. And we've blown through the $20 million, and we're going to have to find some more because it's been hugely popular in communities across the county that you wouldn't expect, like Rochester Hills. They were all in for an affordable housing project, so there's a stereotype of what affordable housing is, and we've been able to show communities that if you do it right and you do it with quality, it can be a real asset to your community.
So I'll end on this. What is your big audacious goal that you'd like to see in the next couple of years? What do you want to see if we're like, okay, Dave Coulter gets what Dave Coulter wants? What would you like to see?
Well, we talked about transit, so I'm going to let that one go, but I'm always dreaming of what we can do next in transit. But there's something that's already just underway, and that is the county bought a office building in downtown Pontiac, which is our county seat, but we moved all of our county operations out of downtown decades ago.
That's right. There's that big complex with
And the whole Phoenix Center thing, which is really just a dilapidated parking deck. And so we bought that property. We're tearing down the Phoenix Center as we speak. That parking deck, there's cranes out there demolishing that deck right now. We're going to refurbish the two buildings on either side of it. We're going to reopen Saginaw Street so that you can walk and drive, walkable, drivable, bikeable street again. And then within 2 years, my office is going to be in downtown Pontiac. I want to make a commitment to our downtown, to our county seat in the downtown in Pontiac. So I want to help be part of the revitalization of downtown Pontiac.
Well, and that's going to be huge because Pontiac's just got such great bones and such great people in it.
Yeah.
Such beautiful things. And that's just great to
see. It's a proud city that has seen so much disinvestment over the decades, from General Motors to the county to all sorts of people. But there's a new energy there, and I believe in the future of Pontiac.
So maybe one day I can go stop to stop from downtown Detroit to your office in Pontiac, and we'll have a conversation there.
Yes. There's the dream right there. Put them together. Yeah.
Well, Dave Coulter, Oakland County Executive, thank you so much for your time. Come back sometime.
I'd love to. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.